Rock on 2.1 KFMA. Welcome back to Beef Vegan Presents. We're hanging out here with Shane from Tucson Games and Gadgets with now 3 locations. Okay, they got of course, the Tucson Mall, which the Short Rest Tavern is in. Okay, Park Place Mall. And now at the outlet malls, there's a new pop-up store there. So if you're shopping in the outlet malls, keep an eye open for Tucson Games and Gadgets, which is awesome. Now, let's talk about this real quick before we get ready for Tap Out, which we're going to give away up to $100 in gift certificates to Tucson Games and Gadgets. I came across this list from Gizmodo, which is always an awesome website for giving you a heads up on video games and board games and role-playing games and card games, everything game-related, right? So they have the best tabletop role-playing games of 2022 that I went through. And there's so many role-playing games. And this is like D&D stuff, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Before we get into any of that, what have been some of your personal favorites? Because I know that you see people playing there at the Short Rest Tavern regularly.
Yeah.
And, of course, you play them yourself. So what have been your favorite releases this year?
Well, I'm gonna bring up a couple that we've actually been playing, because Friday night, Tucson Mall store, we now have indie RPG night, which is just anything but basically D&D and Pathfinder. So
nice.
It's been real fun. We've been doing some horror themed games. We ran a game called Trial of Cthulhu, and now we have a good friend of the store, Jay, is running Alien RPG. It's by a Swedish company, Free League. It just came out. It's been very good. I just got in from them as well, the Blade Runner RPG, which people are very excited about, and that just dropped like last week.
Really? So is it kind of is obviously based off Blade Runner, right?
It's based off both the movies. It's basically, a replicant or not, I believe. I haven't even looked into it. So, but we're really excited about it. It's just, it's basically guys coming in running games, and we allow them to run them for 1 up to 4 sessions and then change rules. So it's just about discovering new RPGs, because there are so many that come out now, and a lot of smaller companies put them out, and some of those games are just fantastic. For instance, there's a game called Dread that came out a while ago. Mm-hmm. It's a slasher game where you're all trying to avoid the slasher, but it doesn't use dice. It uses a Jenga tower. And every time you have to do something, you take a piece from the tower. The tower falls, you die.
Oh, wow.
So it's real fun.
And then they have to reset it. So if there's multiple players.
Yeah. So it's just something there are games out there like that just take a completely different approach. And some of those are wildly fun.
Yeah. No, that sounds fantastic. Now, do you have any idea why the werewolf craze is a thing in 2022? Because we're touching on this.
Weirdo does.
Weirdo has a kinky theory, and it has to do with erotic fiction, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Werewolf erotic fiction right now is super popular.
Really?
Yeah.
That's odd, but okay.
I'm not saying I'm into it.
How many different werewolf properties do you have at Tucson Games and Gadgets off the top of your head?
Oh boy, I don't know.
Too many to count, right?
I don't know. Several for sure. There's a very popular sort of social deduction game, which we were talking about a little bit earlier, called, Werewolf, where it plays like up to 64 people. I mean, it's meant for large groups. I think it's a minimum of 10 people. And a game like that is, you're a whole village, and several people are werewolves, and you have to figure out who they are while they're knocking you off. So
that sounds fun.
Kind of like Among Us, werewolf style.
Yeah, but yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's tons of great tabletop role-playing games, that have been out, and tons that came out in 2022. And this list like 20 of them. I'm not going to go off of all 20, but there were a couple that you recognize from this list that were good sellers at your place. Crescendo of Violence, was that one of them?
No, I don't know that one, but I love the name. I want to check it out post haste.
All right, and then Cyborg.
Yeah, Cyborg is an extension of a game called Morkborg, which is another game by that's by Modifius, a German company, I believe. And it is a post-apocalyptic fantasy black metal game.
Wow.
I
love the descriptions on these.
It is pretty awesome. The art on that book is probably the best art I've ever seen in a role-playing book, for sure. It's very cool.
I love that. Let me ask you this, for any parents out there listening, or friends that know that they have someone who might be interested in role-playing games but haven't gotten into them yet. That's a great introduction into the world of role-playing games that you would recommend.
So there's actually quite a few. Obviously, D&D is hugely popular now and has been simplified over the years to where it's a great entry point for most people.
Okay.
If that's not quite your style, a game system I'm in love with, it's the system is called Powered by the Apocalypse. There's a bunch of different games that use that system, and it's a very simple system. You roll 2d6 and you have 3 outcomes. It's either a success, a failure, or a success with the complication.
Okay.
And that's literally, it's so easy to play and easy to get into. It's funny because when I was younger, I liked the games with a lot of math and a lot of complexity. The older I get, the more I'm into what they call them narrative-based games, because it's more about telling a story than it is about, getting the math and figuring out, do I hit the monster? How much damage do I do?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of these role-playing games. So if you've never played a role-playing game, definitely look into it because for the next game night for you and your friends, because I guarantee you will have a blast. Tucson Games and Gadgets has all that stuff. We're going to talk more about that and give you an opportunity to win up to $100 in gift certificates to Tucson Games and Gadgets to help you out with your holiday shopping, all by playing another round of Tap Out. So you could either be our contestant or a scavenger. So stick around because Tap Out's coming up next.